Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome back to another episode of the In Demand Hairstylist podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Veroli, and I am, as always, so excited to be here with you. So, today I want to talk to you about a topic that I came across this past month, really, after working with a couple of stylists slash salon owners. And this topic is all about how to build your business during a recession. And specifically as we're approaching the crazy Christmas time, right? What I'm finding and what I'm hearing and observing in the industry is that it's really like a mixed bag, right? You have some stylists who are incredibly talented and they're not busy at all. And then you have other stylists who are very busy and they're struggling because they don't have the processes or the people in place to help them thrive and grow. So today I want to talk to you about a couple of things that you can do and think about and ponder in your business in order to help you navigate growing during a recession. So it's interesting times right now. So at the time of this recording, it's 2023. We're approaching 2024. We are in a recession. You have clients who are pulling back a bit. I think our industry as a whole is starting to feel the effects of a recession a bit. And some people are going to just, it may not affect some people very much at all, and others, it may affect big time. So I think so much of this, you can't compare yourself to other people because I think there's so many variabilities and variables within like addressing some of the challenges and how to grow your business, because it's not a one size fits all. And there's no way I could really cover everybody and everything in this one podcast episode. But what I want to share with you are two scenarios that I helped a stylist and an owner kind of navigate through this past month. And so the one stylist, okay, so I'll tell you the scenarios. The one stylist is in an area, a very busy city on a very busy street that has a lot of foot traffic and a lot of just car traffic too as well. It's just a busy street in a busy city in the downtown area. And hypothetically, she should be crazy busy, right? But she's not. She's experiencing a time of a real downtime. And, she said that there's certain days where she doesn't even have a client. And it's really, really challenging, right? And the caveat to this that I want to share with you is that this specific stylist is extremely talented. I mean, really, really good at their craft, very meticulous, committed to excellence, like really high-end stylist. And so what's interesting is that she's not really busy. So here's the cool thing, right? She's in an area that has a lot of foot traffic. So if you're listening to this and you can relate, like, hey, I'm in an area that actually has a lot of traffic and a lot of foot traffic, and I'm in a great area, but I'm not super busy, right? So what I told her is the thing with a transient area like that, right? If you're in a downtown area or in a city, the great thing is the foot traffic, the volume of people that you have access to. The problem is, at least in this specific area, that there are people coming and going constantly. You don't have clients forever. So typically they're in town for a year, maybe 2 years. They're either going to college or they're in town for a job or in town for a contract that they're on. And so you have a lot of like transient people, or you have younger clients who are in their 20s and they live in the city for a couple of years and then they go back out to like where they're from. It's so different than being in a small town. So you really have to address how you're building your clientele differently. And so what I had suggested for her is that obviously social media is such an incredible tool, especially if you live in the city, I think, because People are using social media constantly to find the best places to go, right? The best restaurants, the best places to hang out, the best places to grab coffee. Like, people are using Instagram to find these things, or they're using Google to find these things, right? They're Googling best coffee shop in town, like best place to hang out, best brunch spot. So people are using social media and Google a lot to research areas. So obviously those tools are going to be your best friend when you're in an area that, people are using that a lot. So how are you going to utilize it in a way that actually attracts people to come to you? And this is really what we talked about. And what's really great is, so you can be an amazing hairstylist and post the most stunning pictures of hair. The problem is people have become numb to beautiful hair. Like, you don't have to go very far to see on anybody's Instagram to see beautiful hair. Like, everybody does beautiful hair. Like, everyone's posting the same pictures. And so your consumer or your potential client has become really numb to beautiful hair. So I really, yes, post pictures of the beautiful hair that you do, but more so what I had shared with her is like, really start sharing how you help people. So I said, for example, was getting my hair done with her. This was the conversation we were having. I said, you would take a picture of my hair before and say, this is my client so-and-so. This is my client, Kristen. The things she came to me struggling with were that she has a gray patch that she doesn't really want to cover, but she just wants to blend. Her hair is really uneven because she has some breakage and she's really struggling with frizz in her hair. Here's the after picture, and this is what I did to help her through these challenges. I did this and I did this and I did this, right? So it's showing the clients why you're the expert. It's not just showing them a pretty picture of hair and saying, hey, look at all this pretty hair that I do. Come see me. It's saying, hey, this is the before and this is the after, and this is what I did to solve her issues. And I'd love to have you in my chair and solve these issues for you too. If you're struggling with any of these things, call for a consultation. Come in for an appointment. Like, here's my link, book, So sharing more information, informative content, educating your client, it positions you as the expert, because it takes a little bit more effort to do that, quite honestly. You can't just post a picture and be like, beautiful blonde, look how pretty. Like, you actually have to think and put a thoughtful caption to your photos and be strategic about what it is that you're promoting. But the thing is, most people aren't doing that. Most people are not doing that. And if someone comes across, so you're using a hashtag, let's just say, for example, color correction, blonding expert, whatever it is that the hashtag that you're using, and somebody happens to come across it, there may be several other stylists in your area that also use the hashtag blonding expert. There might be 4 or 5 or 10 other blonding experts on your strip. But are any of those experts actually explaining why they're the expert? Are they showing the work, the results that they have gotten, their client reviews that they have gotten? Are they sharing a little peek behind the scenes of why they're so good at what they do? Probably not. I don't see a lot of it, at least. Like, I see a lot of people posting like lifestyle stuff, like, look how cool my lifestyle is as a hairstylist, or look how pretty my work is. But I don't see a lot of stylists being like, this is the surgery that I did behind the scenes to make this hair happen. And that's what I feel a lot of stylists are lacking right now and really should be focusing on. Because here's the thing, in a recession, people are skeptical or choosy. I don't know if those are even the right words, but they're choosy with how they're going to spend their money, because it's, for some people, a little more scarce right now. gas is expensive, groceries are expensive, everything is expensive. So people are choosing what is worth me spending my money on. Do I really need this thing or do I not really need this thing? And you want them to really need your hair services because they do. If they're going to feel amazing, we all know what that does to a person. When they look and feel amazing, they go out into the world and have better results, honestly, in their life. Like confidence and feeling good about yourself is so incredibly powerful. I know you know this, or else you wouldn't be in this industry, right? But so why is it worth them coming in and spending their money with you? Why should they put their hard-earned money in your pocket? Because you're the expert and you are sharing with them exactly how you are going to help them. So that's something to really, really think about. So yes, there's an element of locality to this, but also there's an element of just educating your guests. And so that goes for everybody, no matter where you're at. But I think especially if you're in a city, transient area where there's a lot of people and there's just like a lot of competition, like you have to set yourself apart from other people and be incredibly valuable to even stand out and to get people to want to spend their money with you. So that's probably the number one strategy I would focus on. And then if it doesn't work, like whatever, I would totally like sit down and reevaluate. You can't take it as you can't take it like, oh, I'm terrible. People don't want to see me. Maybe I should give up. Maybe I'm not in the right location. Like you have to keep, it takes some grit and some, what's the word I'm looking for? It just takes some grit and creativity when it comes to strategizing in your business with how to continue to build, how to continue to stay busy, how to continue to make money in this career. And that's the other thing about being in a city area is that there's not really like a downtime. I feel like in smaller towns and smaller cities, like people are more, you're going to have longer term clients because people like live in these areas. They're like usually having families and staying there for, years and years in these smaller suburban communities. You're going to have more longer term clients, which means that when you're fully booked, like you're fully booked and you might have an opening that opens up here and there, but for the most part, you don't always have to be in client recruiting mode. But when you're in a city and you have clients who are coming and going and they're only in town for a year or less, or maybe a little bit more, you always have to be in business building mode. I think you should always be in business building mode regardless of where you're at, but specifically if you're located in an area where people come and go a lot, you always have to be in business building mode, which means you always have to be thinking 10 steps ahead. Like what am I going to be promoting? How am I going to promote myself? How am I going to get new clients in my chair? How am I going to get referrals? Like always be working on those things. So that's just a little bit of what I shared with this stylist who is sort of struggling. So we'll see what happens, right? So the other scenario that I want to share with you, which is actually interesting, it's like completely opposite, is with a salon owner who is extremely busy, no shortage of clients, but there's only 3 of them in the salon, and they are a curly hair expertise. They only do curly hair in the salon. So there are no other clients that really come in the salon. They have a waiting list of people who are trying to get in with them, but there's only 3, the owner and 2 other stylists. Actually, the owner, 1 other stylist, and an assistant who is just getting behind the chair now and starting to take clients. So they're turning people away. Why? Because they are the expert. They are incredibly niched. So when people found out that these people do incredible hair on curls, on texture, it became the talk of the town, right? So that's a great problem to have. The problem is, though, they're exhausted. They're booked from the time they come in to the time they leave. They have all of these requests coming in. they have all these requests coming in for new clients that want to come in. They're trying to handle all of that, and the space is very small, so it's more of like a studio space. Has 2 chairs, and so she was really struggling. She's like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I am really stuck on how I need to proceed forward. I'm feeling like I need to find a bigger space. So this is really interesting because we're talking about growth during a recession, right? We're talking about growing during a recession. So this is what she's contemplating. She's contemplating moving into a bigger location, which obviously comes with a bigger rent payment, bigger expenses, everything from like utilities to just furnishing the place. And she's kind of like tossing this around like, okay, if I'm going to hire somebody else, like I'm going to run out of space and I need a bigger space. And technically that's growth in a business. But would I recommend, so my recommendation, this was an actual client of mine. My recommendation was to hold off, exhaust all of your options in your current space before jumping into a 3,000 square foot salon, right? Because again, the minute that you move comes along with a lot more expenses, at least in this scenario, depending on the location, I'm sure, but in this specific scenario, the rent was going to be double. And then obviously the expenses would probably double as well, and it comes with challenges. When you move locations, it's never just going to be smooth sailing. It would be nice, but there's going to be unforeseen challenges that pop up. You're going to have to really hope and know that you will lose some clientele when you move to a new space, right? Whether it's a new salon or you're moving locations, you're not ever going to retain 100% of your clients. It's just not reality. So those challenges come along. Now, it looks like growth because she wants to move into a bigger space. She's hiring another stylist. They're running out of space. My recommendation to her was that there's a couple of things that you can do. You can maximize your space and you can maximize your time. And I would not make any big decisions in my business until I did both of those things. So what do I mean by that? So when I'm talking about maximizing your space is sometimes when we first start our salons, we set up our salon in a way that feels really good for us when we first start out. And it works great for the amount of clients that we have, for the amount of stylists that are in the salon. But as we begin to grow, meaning maybe you've added on another stylist, maybe that means that instead of having 1 client at a time in the salon, you're now having 2 or 3 clients at a time in the salon, and it's feeling kind of small. So can you maximize your space in any way? Is there any way that you can you try a double-sided station? And this is what I recommended for her is like, could you try putting a double-sided station? And that's the area in which you guys execute haircuts, hair color, like the actual service. And then you have a separate little area where you would like do the blow dries, right? So then you can really accommodate 4 people instead of just having your own, like the 2 stations that you currently have. So that would be like one thing that you could consider, like a double-sided station or 2 double-sided stations, because it just saves on space. Or there might be something more extreme that you have to do, right? Maybe you need to move a shampoo area or redesign your shampoo area to make it a little bit smaller. Because again, sometimes when we first start out, we plan and set things up in a way that fits our needs at that point. Well, the needs when you first open are going to be probably different than your needs 2 or 3 years in. So can you change the space? So maximize your space. Like where do you have wasted space in your salon that you can actually create a income generating space in your salon? So that's something to really think about. Every square foot of your salon has the opportunity to make money. But how much of your space is just open and bare or taking up space for like a plant or something that's not an income generating service activity or whatever. So like, retail would be income generating. You would, the space that you have retails, it's actually bringing you in money. So every square foot of your salon, I want you to think about that. Like when you look at it, how much of your space has income generating opportunity there? And is there something that you can move or get rid of in your salon where you could put an additional station or an additional like rack of or shelving for product or whatever it might be? So that would be maximizing your space. The other thing is maximize your time. So her hours, and I actually ran into this in my salon as well, is that her hours are a little bit weird, right? She has hours from like 10 to 6, and then, a day that it's like 10 to 4, and then 9 to 5. So her hours are a little funky. And I thought, again, when you create your hours when you first start, you create your hours based off of your needs at that time. And sometimes we get stuck in this like place where, oh, these are our hours, like we can't change them. I do not recommend, this annoys me so much when people change their hours all the time and just feel like they can I personally, I know we're in a different age and people like to work whenever, wherever, but I'm sorry, when you have a brick and mortar business, you want to know when that business is open. Like your customers want to know when they can come to your place of business. That's my take on it. So I do not think that you should be changing your hours all the time. Now, if you change your hours, I would say once a year is probably the most you should ever change your hours personally. I think that's even I don't know, something to reevaluate once a year. But most of the time, you guys have had the same hours for a while if you have a brick and mortar business. I know I did. Our hours were the same for 6 years. And we got to this point where I was like, these hours just don't make sense anymore. First of all, we don't have enough stations. Now we have 7 stylists and only 6 stations. So what am I going to do? And so what we decided to do, instead of being open from 10 to 6 and 10 to 5 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays or whatever, we expanded our hours. So this was a big risk to take, but again, maximizing time. We opened our salon schedule from 9 until 9. And so what this did is opened up a whole bunch more of income generating, revenue generating time within our business where we could accommodate clients. The other thing it did is it was opened up space for our team members to have flexible schedules. So all of a sudden, instead of working every single day or 4 days a week from open to close with everybody, people were had so much availability. They're like, well, maybe I'll work the 9 to 3 shift on Monday and then the evening shift and then a 12-hour shift. And then, or I'll work 2 12-hour shifts and just do that for the week. So it gave our team options when it came to their schedule. And I let each of them sort of pick and choose their schedule. Now, all of a sudden we had double the amount of stations. So I only had 6 stations, but I actually doubled my amount of time because I doubled my hours. And so that new stylist, I had places to put my new stylist because I had so much more time available. Now, the other piece of this is that people had to share stations. And this is part of maximizing your space. If you're a salon owner and everybody in your salon says, this is my station and this is my station only, when they're not there, that square footage is losing money. That takes away opportunity for guests to come in and experience your salon. It takes away the opportunity for another stylist to come in and be a part of your team. When that station's sitting stagnant, everything sits stagnant. All the opportunities sit stagnant. So that was a shift that we had to make in our salon, and it allows growth even in a recession, even when other businesses aren't growing. These are the strategies that will help you to grow. So you may identify with the stylist who's in a busy area, or maybe even you're not in a super busy area, but you may identify with a stylist who's oh crap, I don't have any clients in my chair. And I gave you some recommendations of what you could do with that. And then you may be the stylist or salon owner who is like maxed out and you just feel like you can't grow without spending more money or expanding your space or making some really big decision. I just shared with you a couple of things that you can do to grow without having to like dig further and deeper into your pocket. So I know that this episode was like, it feels like it was a little all over the place, but I hope that it was helpful. And regardless of the place that you're in right now, I think that everybody can listen to this and at least get something or get an idea that sparks for you and like, oh, I can maybe shift this in my business or shift this in what I'm doing in the salon or how I promote myself. And if one person walks away with something that's valuable and helpful, I've done my job. I love you guys so much. I am always open to hearing from you guys. If there's anything ever that you want to hear covered on the In Demand Hairstylist podcast, I would love to create a podcast episode for you. So email me, Kristen@indemandhairstylist.com, and say hello. I love connecting with you guys. Say hello. Let me know what you're like crushing it at. Let me know what you're struggling with. I love hearing from the listeners, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful holiday season. I'll talk to you in the next episode.